Just killing me. What is up, everybody? We are live. Welcome back to the PokerNews podcast. For those who have already been listening, we are actually in real life on video. But for those who are just now joining us, welcome. This is extremely exciting, especially because it says that Jeff Platt is Phil Galfond and vice versa.
Yes.
Let's switch that up. Jeff Platt's
I noticed that as well. I just wanted to retweet anyways.
Moment. Oh, I hope everyone has something to say about it. Everyone is an editor on the flip side. So, okay, Phil, first of all, super excited to have you on board. I feel like maybe I had you on the podcast one time, maybe you were on a Bitcoin podcast I did. I don't know. I only recognized your background from another podcast, and I was like, I know that background. I've seen that background before. But if not, I'm super happy to have you on if this is your virginity. And we've got tons of exciting stuff to talk about. Jeff and I will hopefully not be on the screen for most of what's about to go down. And I think we have to just first kick it off. New dad. We've talked to a lot of poker players about this life, and especially starting a new business, being a poker player in general. What's the dad life like? What's going
on? I mean, it's really what I assume everybody says, which is it's exhausting, but it's great. It's definitely the combination of becoming a dad and starting a business that occupies a lot of my time. It's a pretty drastic change from pure poker player life, where you're kind of completely on your own schedule and, can do whatever you want at any hour of the day. That's out the window. But no, I'm loving it.
Okay. So this business has been, in the works, I would say, for a long time. I think people have been dreaming of, speculating about, hoping for, waiting for this to happen for ages. So first of all, congratulations. And I think maybe before we get too much into, the difficulties, all the tough spots on how to get this whole thing going, let's talk about just what the last week, I guess, has been like, or week and a half in birthing the baby that is the business.
Yeah, well said. It's been also exhausting, but great. It's been crazy. It's because we've been operating like a pre-user business for several years now, and I don't know, we've kind of gotten used to it and used to our routines and who handles what, who we talk to about what, and things like that, and all of those things that needed to happen still need to happen, but now on top of it there are new fires to put out and customers and players, and so we actually kind of put a lot on our plates. We during private beta testing had a Discord server where we were just talking to all the testers, and it had gone so well that we just said, let's just keep this going for when we launch, because people are enjoying, getting help from us and talking to us, and it's been a nice community. So that on top of everything else has been, it's 24/7 chat. And so we've been spread quite thin trying to keep up with that along with everything else. But the response has been about as good as I could hope for, and so I'm very pleased with how it's been going.
So, do you consider this part still public beta testing, and if so, what's kind of the next step in your timeline?
Yeah, I consider it public beta, but the games are live. It's real money. Your money's safe. So it's like. Yeah, it feels like launching. Like private beta felt a lot different than this feels, certainly. And as far as timeline, it's all kind of, we don't know. I had given a couple of timelines for when we were going to reach this stage over the past few years, and been wrong by quite a bit. So I'm a little careful pulling the trigger on time estimates. Other than ones that are in the very near future. I know we have some fixes coming soon, but I think, realistically, I like keeping a beta tag on there as long as there's a pretty good chance that a user is going to experience some more issues than they would on the major poker sites, and that's still the case right now. And probably will be the case throughout the month at least. And so it's really just a matter of, when we feel like, removing that, we feel that it's good for customers to come in with the confidence that everything's going to work perfectly. We'll see.
That being said, I would say so far the poker community in and of itself, I think everyone can agree, is extremely difficult to please in almost anything that you're ever doing ever. Even if you're creating free content, people are pissed off about it. So I would say that the reaction has been super positive, and I don't know if that's just by virtue of the fact that, people really respect you and what you're doing. I dug a little deeper and said, no, actually, I think there's some really, really cool and interesting things that you guys have done and that you've chosen and that have gotten really positive feedback, and that I think the rest of the poker world is super excited to do, and probably lots of people will ultimately end up following what you guys have done. So can you talk about some of the things that make RunItOnce unique? And just so everyone out there knows who's listening, this is not paid advertisement. Phil, we're not making anything from this. This is just really I think there's some cool stuff you guys are doing.
Thank you. And thanks for not accepting the money to say all that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Splash the Pot, let's get out there. It's so exciting.
All right. So Splash the Pot is, I think, what most people are talking about, which is one of the latest things that I announced. If you like reading really, really long posts about decisions that get made at a poker site, head to runitOnce.eu /news, and there's just all my posts on each of our decisions that I shared leading up to launch. The last post before my launch announcement post was about Splash the Pot and rake in general. And basically what we've done is, a lot of sites have rakeback programs where, you're tiered, and based on how much you play, you might qualify for a certain amount of rakeback. What we have done is basically give the same amount to everybody and do it through an element that interacts with the game. So at the start of each hand, there's an algorithm that runs, and randomly chips will fall from the sky into the pot, and then you play for it. And so it's essentially an ante that we're paying back to you as rake back. And it can go from one big blind, which is kind of a typical ante size that you would see in tournament or ante cash games, all the way to 1,000 big blinds, which is quite a bit larger than typical. And it's been, the response to that's been great. We were excited about the idea. We've been excited about the idea for 3 years. And so it's great to see it finally get out there and people respond to it. As far as other things, one thing that we've focused on a lot is kind of preservation of the poker ecosystem. And a lot of that takes the form of kind of leveling the playing field and protecting recreational players who don't have all the tools available to them that, or at least don't use all the tools that the pros use. And I think what's been great is if a lot of sites tried to do some of these things, they might have had bad reactions from the pros, but because I've been a pro for 15 years and, the community is willing to listen to me explain how in the end it's going to be good for them as well. I think it's all been pretty well received. So for example, there's no table or seat selection. You're going to just, I want to play 200, no limit. And you click a button, we put you at the table. Also on that note, for the seamlessness, there's only one buy-in. You can buy in for 200 at 1-2 blinds. What we wanted to do is we didn't want people to have to think about okay, well, if I'm not short stacking, am I missing out on an edge that some other people are getting? Oh, I should look at the table and see what the stack sizes are made up so before I decide how much to buy in for. And we just wanted to make people not worry about it. And I like that not only because, you don't have to worry about being put at a disadvantage for things like that, but because even the players who do those things and take those advantages, which are not unethical, but they don't have to worry about it. It's just another thing to worry about that detracts from the game of poker, which is the point. So you get seated at a table. At that table, you're going to be assigned what we call a table alias, which is a name that your opponents see for you that's only for that table. So if you're playing 3 tables, you're going to have a different alias on each table. They don't know who you are. none of these are tied back to your, real name or account name or screen name. So there's no way for somebody to build up a database of hands on you, for people to share your results publicly. And there's no way for you to be targeted. Like players, I think one thing that's been a really bad experience for a lot of players is when they sit down at a table and within 2 seconds the table fills up and there's a wait list of 30 people. And as soon as they sit out, everybody leaves. And everybody's going to be aware of that. Just because somebody's not a pro, it's not like they don't notice that they're being hunted. And so we've removed a lot of those elements. We don't allow HUDs, which once again, nothing unethical about a HUD if your site allows it. I really like playing with the HUD, but I think it does tilt things even further in favor, or I guess against the casual players. No HUD rules are hard to enforce, but along with not allowing people to build hands on you because you have a new identity each time, and we don't have there are some other things that HUDs do to read the action. We've removed some of those. We have other measures in place, but along with that, we've also included some information directly on the table through dynamic avatars. So what that is everybody at the table is going to have an avatar, a different character that's associated with their name, and based on how they're playing, and this is stat based, just like a HUD would be, their avatar is going to display an emotion or an expression. So you might be really angry if you're playing really aggressively. If you're playing really tight, your guy's sleeping, things like that. And if you hover over them, it'll explain what they are. And so this way, you're not missing out on much of the information you would have over a small sample with a heads-up display anyways. And it's in a format that everybody can understand. You don't need to know what 25-16-3 means. Those are pretty bad stats. You don't have to know. You don't have to know what any of that means to understand. And all of this leveling the playing field, it is there are kind of it feels like the right thing to do, but there are also just poker ecology considerations. One thing that's changed a lot over my career in online poker is that the pros used to beat, obviously they used to win, but they weren't that good. If I could go back now and play myself 10 years ago, I would crush myself. It wouldn't be close. And what's happened is the pros, the knowledge of the game has progressed, and the pros have gotten better and better. And the casual players are not really getting that much better than they were 10, 15 years ago. Of course, if one's played this whole time, he is. But somebody that's, somebody that's just starting out or, plays for fun, doesn't really study the game, they're still, where the same place the players were 10 years ago. And so the skill differential and the edge has just increased so much that recreational players are...
Is someone vacuuming right now? What's going on?
Yeah, actually. I can tell them to stop, actually. I would need a 2-minute break. I think that would show up.
I feel like we should maybe pause just for the vacuum. No, it's okay. I don't hear it. It's gone?
It's definitely happening.
No, yeah, it was just me. It's because I only heard my own self. Yeah, maybe if they could just break for 10 minutes, it'd be super helpful.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Can we pause?
Yeah, we'll pause. I mean, we're still going to be live, but people will just...
All right,
Jeff and I will just talk. We'll just keep it together. Maybe they can answer the questions from the box.
That's great.
I'm dying inside, a little bit. And actually, I had no idea. This is super... and it's happening to me too, the light's starting to come in, but I think that the general perspective kind of in the poker space is that this is a site for, professionals, mostly, or it's geared towards professionals or something. I think there's definitely a misconception that because of Phil Galfond, being the head of it, that's what the whole function was. And I'm really... okay, he sees the bigger picture. I like it.
Yeah, I think so too, and I'm curious, and I'll ask him about.
Oh my gosh, back. Johnny vibes. Maid's gonna maid.
Here he comes.
That's so funny.
All right, hey guys.
There we go. That was pretty quick, Phil.
Yeah.
They might vacuum somewhere else, but I think it won't be as loud.
No, that's okay.
Right.
All right.
Gotta have a clean house.
Yeah.
You
so
do.
True.
Yeah.
So true.
Well, Farrah does.
And you were in the middle of some really awesome stuff.
I kind of had something going, and I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I know where I was.
Yeah, please.
Okay, yeah.
should I start some of that over?
No, everyone's just still live with us. It's fine.
Okay, cool. So what's happened over the years is that the best players are getting better, and the skill gap has widened so much that players who are playing casually show up and they're losing so consistently, they're losing so quickly that it takes the fun out of the game and they don't come back and play again. And I think what a lot of players look at the poker ecosystem and view it as a zero-sum game where, players that are not as good as them come in, lose their money, and they just want to win it as fast as possible. And realistically, or the way that I view it, is that players that are coming in to play poker for fun and often end up losing to pros, more often than not, they're getting something in return for that. They're having fun. They're enjoying themselves. There's a challenge. They win sometimes. They lose sometimes. On one given day, they might have played the hand better than you, things like that. And so it's not zero sum in that, like, the game can give back to them even if they're losing in the game. And so it's been really important to us to try to improve the experience for players who aren't winning, and partially by making the game more fun. I think things like dynamic avatars, Splash the Pot, actually make the game more fun as well, but also through kind of taking away some of the predatory elements and allowing them to have more wins.
Phil, you mentioned not having HUDs, and I remember when you opened up that discussion to the public effectively on whether or not your site would feature HUDs or not. So overall, how much would you say public input weighed in on your decision-making process overall when creating RunItOnce?
It's interesting. By the time that we announced everything, those decisions were pretty much made. And there are a couple of things that we're revisiting because of public opinion. But, up until the point where we made those decisions, I was an active part of the poker community for 12, 13 years, and especially the online community. So they're definitely not opinions that or ideas that came just from us internally. It's just, I've been a part of this world, and so much of the online world has also, tried to make suggestions to the poker sites about ways to fix problems, tried to address issues facing online poker. And so I've been a part of those discussions. So ideas have been thrown around. I remember, I don't know how many years ago, probably 7, 8 years ago, making some blog posts about suggestions for ways that PokerStars could fix some of the issues that, that I thought needed to be fixed. And there was a large conversation on 2+2 on a bunch of places. So I've been a part of discussions like this for a long time, but not too much has changed since we made the announcements.
I think it's interesting because for a lot of poker players, I've been going back and listening to a lot of old podcasts, and I actually been taking notes of how many players 10 years ago were saying that they didn't want to just be playing poker, for the next 10 years, and that they were interested in wanting to start businesses, and they didn't think that it was, ultimately plus EV for their life to stay in poker forever. And yet, at this point, even with all the crazy stuff that's happened, most professional poker players are still professional poker players. But you, having been, a part of creating a site, not just for strategy, but now like an actual poker site, is kind of a pretty big divergence from what most poker players have ended up doing, which I think is also a little bit bizarre. You would think that most of these really brilliant and sort of motivated and exciting people, that they may have chosen to take this route also. So what are some of the motivating factors or some of the things that have inspired you to really take on something as big as building a poker site?
It's a good question. I don't think I have a great answer for you. I miss playing poker as my main focus. I love poker still. I was never, I hope not. I hope in your research you didn't come across me saying this, but I don't think that I was one of those people that said, 10 years from now I want to be out of poker. No. The training kind of just happened. I remember for a very long time in my career, I liked the idea of teaching. I wanted to write articles, and I did a while back, strategy articles. I wanted to make videos. And the business, I guess, kind of just happened. And with the poker site, yeah, I would say that I never really set out to run businesses or be a businessman or saw myself that way. I just enjoyed teaching. I wanted to teach. Then I saw some things that I thought I could do differently or better, and went for it. And with the poker site, it was similar. The idea for the poker site was kind of born out of fear, really, for where the online poker world and industry was heading. And I mean, obviously, it's very exciting, the idea of running a poker site. I'm not going to say that, it was like I don't know, purely noble pursuit. I was just like, I need to fix this. I don't care, what happens to me. I just need to try to fix this. But, I guess because it's such an exciting idea, it was maybe an easier sell for myself. But it was born out of, I've been trying to suggest things for a while. I'm now especially worried about where we're heading and what it means for online poker. I know a lot more than the average person about some of the threats facing online poker. I mean, the high stakes community knows a lot more about just like botting and just, how close the game is getting to solved in certain areas and what other areas are less solved. And I just felt like I was in a good position to potentially do something about it and really wanted to, be in a position to try to figure out the threats that may come in the future to the industry. Cause I do think I do think we can save it or keep it going. I shouldn't say save it. It's not in need of saving yet, but it's the future is scary.
If you had to sum up the top, 3 threats or so that are facing the online poker community and what you're trying to stop or prevent, what would kind of be your summary of the online poker world right now?
Yeah, the biggest threat is botting.
Yeah.
It's just that, in the past few years, bots have just become that much better and able to beat humans. I think 6-7 years ago that bots were not better than the best humans at any kind of no limit or pot limit format. That's not the case anymore. And then, I would say actually what I spent a long time talking about during and post vacuum with like just the loss rates and experience that players are having as the game's getting more and more solved. It's kind of related. I don't know if I could come up with a third that kind of reaches that level. I guess regulation is the third, but there's not a lot I can do about that I'm aware of. But I would say, those are the big 3.
So was it is it intimidating in a sense to create this site when you're already going up against, well-established poker sites like PokerStars, Party Poker, 888, et cetera, and you're jumping into the mix right now in 2019?
I mean, it's intimidating just getting like, it's a big business. It's a big operation. And I mean, we're a small poker site, but it's still like, our training site was maybe a team of, 6 most of the time. And this is a team of 30 40 maybe approaching. And so it's a much bigger business than I've been a part of. That's intimidating. And you have to deal with regulatory things, a lot of banking and payment stuff that was all new to me. And of course, all the like fraud prevention, things like that. So it's intimidating. It's an intimidating business to start. But as far as the competition, I feel like we're doing something different enough that, and the poker world is so big, there's enough room. I think that if we don't succeed, it won't be because because of the competition. I think it'll be because we, because we didn't do a good enough job. I think that would be the reason.
I think that is like such an obvious move into like a 2-parter, which includes, lots of us, I think, were anticipating this way before it happened. As you mentioned, you also were. So I'm curious what some of the biggest hurdles have been, but that also leads me into a follow-up question, which is that going into an industry like this where so many things are unfamiliar to you and so many things are new, but also I would say that basically your face and your presence in the poker world is the primary selling point for most people to begin with. So it's also like if you're missing something or something falls through the cracks, like you might ultimately be the one that has to, like say, oh, it's my fault, my bad. So can you talk a little bit about what some of the biggest issues have been, or what the struggles have been, and then also, what it's like to really try to figure out all of these things that, are maybe not your normal go-to every day-to-day Phil Galfond life stuff?
Yeah, it's a very good point at the end there that I'll answer in order. The biggest struggle was definitely development. We, as I explained in one of those super long posts, we started down the wrong path. The first development team we had, started building something that was not very adaptable, and I think that it's potentially a very long topic. But to sum up, I think it was more than anything a failure of communication between the kind of product team and the development team for what we were going to want this thing to do, and how much flexibility we were going to want. And I think it led us, pretty far down that path before we realized that, we were going in the wrong direction. And so I would say I wouldn't say wasted. We certainly learned a lot and figured out a lot that was helpful in the process and got some things done, but we, quite a bit of time went in that direction, maybe almost half the time that we've spent building it. And so we've been recovering from that, and I'm really happy with the team we have now and the progress that's been made. But they're still kind of battling against the structure that was set up, and I'm really excited for the time when we reach a point where that battle is over and it's just building on top of a platform that's a lot more flexible and we're a lot more excited about, because I think we'll see like a big acceleration at that point in what we're able to put out. But that's been the major challenge. As far as the areas I'm learning about, been in there for specs, but I'm not but I am in touch with that. I know as much as I can kind of about that area without doing some serious study. You're hearing a vacuum again?
It's farther away. It's fine.
Bit,
it's not bad.
Good. And then, the other thing that's like the legal, regulatory, financial, really that's what I'm thankful for there is the team that we have that, one of I think our second hire was an expert in that area and, worked at PokerStars before, as well as at least one other company in the space, and just really knew what he was doing and built a team that knows what they're doing. And I probably don't know as many of the intricate details as I could, but I know quite a bit. And the areas that I don't know are the areas that I definitely fully trust that they're having us covered. If anything, they're a careful team, and so if anything, they've got it covered.
No, like Elizabeth Holmes, Theranos problems here. We've got it together. Okay. And so, how much of a to cover the second part, how much of a stress is it though to know that it is basically your face always being the selling force, basically?
I'm not too stressed about it. I think I'm not stressed about it. I'm very involved, and the people that are there, keeping an eye on things, I trust very, very much. I trust completely. And so it doesn't really scare me. I'm happy to put my face on it. I think the thing that is the thing that's been kind of hard since we've launched is that, development is a really slow process, as we've established. And there are, a lot of things in the software that I would want to change, a lot of things that nobody has complained about or noticed that I would want to change. I'm a perfectionist, and I've been an online poker player for a decade and a half, and I know what poker players want. I know what I would want. And it's been difficult to see people that do make those complaints about things that aren't ready or features that haven't been added, options that haven't been added. And like, you know, Phil, why didn't you add this? Why didn't you think of this thing? And so that's been the only difficult thing is just, I don't know. There is so much it's going to be so much more when it gets there, but it's a slow process, and I do hate, you know, seeing criticisms about things that I know are need to be fixed, and I've been pushing for quite a long time, but yeah, we're getting there.
Phil, Paul Lane brought this up in the chat. I'm going to adjust his question a little bit. You mentioned regulatory issues that you're going to just run into for the next couple decades, hopefully, and that you don't have that much of a say in them. With that said, though, in your kind of wildest dreams, hopes, imaginations for RunItOnce, could you see a presence in the United States in the next, 5 to 10 years or so? Yeah,
I mean, I would love to. And I don't think it's unreasonable. Mm-hmm. Really what we would need is our kind of post-beta software. And like the quickest way that it would happen is we get our software post-beta, we add tournaments, and a couple other things that we really want in there, and then partner with some land-based casino in the US and get something like that done. As far as being available in the same way that an ACR is, we won't do that because I like it outside of jail.
Yeah, fair. That's super fair. Now, I know our time is basically up, but for someone who, in fact, before you came on the show, you didn't get to hear, but when we were talking about sort of all of your accolades and all of the things that you're known for, it really spans the gaps compared to a lot of people, being both in live and online, being both tournaments and cash, being in the space of teaching, but also in the space of doing. In terms of where this particular venture lines up with your legacy, having a child now and looking back, is building this card room for poker players, and both casual and professional, but for poker players, is this something that you hope is really like what you're known for?
Yeah, if this goes as planned and we can do everything we want to do, then I definitely think it will be my biggest achievement in poker. And so, yeah, that is what I hope.
We've got high hopes, just so you know. The whole poker world is just like, please let this be it. Please let this be the one. And it's some of the points you brought up just about, I'm not going to say we're in dire straits at this point, but I definitely think people are we're desperate for another like Scheinberg or like somebody who just loves poker, who's running a poker site. And I'm super excited. I so appreciate you coming on. Now, before we let you go, Jeff, do you have any last questions? And then also, Phil, do you have any last messages for the audience?
Yeah, I'll just turn it over to Phil to kind of give his, State of the Union address for RunItOnce, how it's going so far, and, what he thinks the next month, 2 months, 6 months will look like.
Man, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
We're, the next few months, I'm just hoping that, what I've noticed is that the players who are playing are really enjoying it. And we're getting really a lot of positive feedback. So I feel really good about what our retention is going to be like. I think that players are going to keep coming back and keep playing. And so what we need to focus on, and what we are focusing on, is just growing and getting the word out to more people. I think one thing working against us is just that beta tag. A lot of people are going to want to wait until we're out of beta because they just, don't want to deal with a hiccup here and there. I, would love it if people wouldn't, but I also, people should do what they want with their money, certainly. But it is, your money's safe on RunItOnce. We have the games seem pretty good. I don't go through every hand and watch every game, but I've been mostly watching a lot of streamers, which I guess would be my next point. But the games do seem really good right now. If you don't feel like playing yet, or if you're in a country that can't play, but want to support us, one thing that you can do is go on Twitch and check for people who are streaming RunItOnce Poker and support them. We've got just real quickly, we have an incentive program set up for streamers to receive, between 50 and 110% extra rakeback. And so we've got a lot of people doing it. I think 200 some people have applied and are getting going streaming, which has been awesome. And they've all been supporting each other. And yeah, I'm trying to, get them more views so they can take more of our money and grow the site. So that's something that you can do to support us. But otherwise, yeah, it's the support has been awesome, and the positivity, even when we have run into some issues with it, the positivity has been overwhelming, and I appreciate it.
I mean, if that isn't your guys' slogan, though, your money is safe on RunItOnce, I feel like it could be. And also, we need, a meme that's just beta bitches. Who cares? We want to play the beta. Who cares? Also, I think that's a super smart marketing move. It's funny because we were literally just talking about how it looks like PokerStars is kind of moving away from the Twitch space for whatever reason, and how Jeff and I are no marketing whiz kids, but we were like, geez, that seems weird, doesn't it? So good. Good on you guys. I feel like
thank you.
I'm on board with all of it. And give the wife a big wet kiss from me, please, if you can.
Will do.
And will we see you this summer?
Yeah, I'll be playing by summertime. I don't know if I'll play before then. I want to, but busy.
Well, we will be expecting a follow-up, either interview or live or podcast or whatever. We'll need a follow-up, how everything's going. Fair?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
OMG.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
We'll never run it down.
Thanks.
Bye.
No, never.